and we thank you in advance for what you're going to do, even in this situation. Amen. Amen. I'm Pastor Gerard A. Robinson, Sr. of the McEwen Missionary Baptist Church, and I've come on behalf of the faith-based community and our community at large to talk to these, our city officials, and we have come to request and ask and say to them and say to all that we are concerned about the senseless killings of African Americans in our communities and people of color. We've come as a community leader to request and ask that there be complete transparency in the investigation of this incident. We've also come to suggest and request that there be an independent and separate investigation by the U.S. Attorney General's Office and the Federal Bureau of Investigation to assure that there is no bias or no leniency in regards to how this investigation is carried out. We look forward to them doing what is right. We look forward to them doing what is just. I'm also here to submit to our community that when injustice is done anywhere in our country, anywhere in our cities, that we have a right to protest, and that we should protest for those things which are right and in the best interest of our community. However, we do want to suggest that all of our protests, all of the people who will be protesting, that you do it in order and that you do it as peacefully as possible, that it will serve our communities no good to have anybody else harmed or anybody else hurt in this situation, and to allow the arms of justice to do what it is supposed to do, and trust that it will work in the best interest of our people and our community.
Thank you, Pastor. I'm Chief Carl Dabadie with the Baton Rouge Police Department. I want to thank all of you for coming this morning. Those of you in the room that's here, I also want to thank those watching live and those that will watch and read about this later. As a community, when difficult things happen, it's important to have an honest conversation about it. What we want, what we know to be true, and how to ensure that justice and accountability are held to the highest levels. To begin, I'd like to share with you what I know. Early yesterday morning, we experienced a horrible tragedy. A life was lost. That life belonged to 37-year-old Alton Sterling. Yesterday's events began around 12:35 a.m. when two of Baton Rouge Police's uniformed officers responded to a disturbance call at 2112 North Foster Drive, where the Triple S Food Mart is located. The call came from someone who stated that a black male selling CDs and wearing a red sweatshirt threatened them with a gun. When officers arrived, Sterling was armed, and the altercation ensued that resulted in the loss of his life. Exactly what happened at this time is the reason we are here today. Like you, there is a lot that we do not understand. And at this point, like you, I am demanding answers. Like you, all my prayers are with this community, and especially with the family and loved ones of Mr. Sterling and all the members of the Baton Rouge Police Department who are working hard every single day. The officers involved in yesterday's events were Blaine Salamone, a 4-year veteran of the Baton Rouge Police Department, and Howie Lake, a 3-year veteran of the Baton Rouge Police Department. Both officers have been placed on administrative leave pending the investigation. The investigation is now ongoing. With that being said, and echoing what Pastor Robinson said, it is our goal and our mission to make sure that a thorough, just, transparent, and independent investigation be conducted into this incident. Therefore, I have spoke with Walt Green, our U.S. Attorney. I have spoke with the FBI. I have spoke with Colonel Edmondson, and we have found that we are going to turn the entire case over to the U.S. Attorney's Office and the FBI to conduct the investigation from this point. We feel that it is in the best interest of the Baton Rouge Police Department, the city of Baton Rouge and this community for this to happen. So that has happened immediately. Actually, it's already happened, and it is now in the hands of the U.S. Attorney. That investigation the U.S. Attorney will lead a fair, objective review of the tragic circumstances that have led to this event. We have been in constant communication with them throughout the past 24 hours, and will continue to be in contact with them and work with them in any way that we need to make sure and assure this community that it is transparent, neutral investigation will be done. In preparing to speak with you today, it is important for us to understand that we have as many facts as possible and had communicated with all the other necessary authorities throughout this entire investigation. As Governor Edwards stated this morning, we know this investigation will be thorough, and we thank you in advance for your patience as we work to get the answers that we all want. Through the investigation conducted by the U.S. Attorney and assisted by the Louisiana State Police and the FBI, we will be comprehensive into taking into account any and all evidence, including full audio and video from both officers' body cameras, dashboard cameras, and any other video that we have obtained, such as those that have circulated online, as well as statements from numerous witnesses who were present and on the scene. With that being said, if you have any information, including any photos, video footage, or if you witnessed the altercation, we urge you to come forward. All evidence and information is helpful in the investigation process, and no stone will be left unturned. If you have any such information, please contact the U.S. Attorney's Office so that we can get that information from you. Today, I speak to you as Chief of Police, but more importantly as a fellow member of our Baton Rouge community. We ask for your voluntary compliance to our laws and peaceful assembly with any gatherings that may be planned. We encourage you to plan and protest, as Pastor Robertson said. We don't have issues with that. We just ask that you do it peacefully and that no one gets hurt or injured. Despite the events that we are here for this morning, I want to remind everyone that we have hundreds of officers that risk their lives every single day and have a very difficult job, and we will continue to work in this community and for this community throughout this event. Thank you. Mayor.
Thank you, Chief. Good morning. I'm Melvin L. Kip Holden, Mayor President of the City of Baton Rouge and Parish of East Baton Rouge. Of course, we all feel the pain of what's happening in our community. It's a sad day and a tough day when you're confronted with the situation and the challenges that face you in these positions in which you were elected to or appointed to. I can say this, let me personally thank the President of the United States and his staff. From early this morning, we received nothing but calls from the President's office asking what ways they could help and volunteering to do whatever they need to do to make sure justice is served. Let me also thank our governor, who also has stepped out again with phone calls and talked to us about the role that he will be playing. Let me thank the state police for what they are doing, and you'll hear more about the roles that will be played there, but in particular the Justice Department. When we talked about that, and Hilla can say, we've always said we must have transparency, as also the Chief has said. But we started talking about this yesterday in terms of transparency. This just wasn't an idea that hit us for a press conference today. When the citizens out there, they are taxpayers. With taxpayers come the words accountability. With accountability comes the burden of making sure, and maybe it's not really a burden, but the responsibility that's delegated to you must be carried out in a very thoughtful manner, and a manner that satisfies those who pay our wages and our salaries. But at the same time, a manner that assures them that we're not here to hide anything at all, and that we believe that justice will be served. But the other part is simply this. You know, you find people now who want to jump, and everybody wants to make a political statement, including the Justice Department. You know, we got congressman from New Orleans said, well, I'm calling for a full investigation. Well, we've already been working on that. It's not like we need to be handheld and spoon-fed when it comes down to doing what's right. And so when we tell you these things and what's going on, it's very, very important that you understand we are doing our best to make sure we get all the answers. But one call that came in today was really one of a mayor, Mayor Stephanie Rollins Blake, out of Baltimore. And that call meant a lot from the standpoint that Baltimore has been through the same thing that we're witnessing here in Baton Rouge. And she said, we want you to know that we're willing to reach out to your city any way possible. But she not only stands up as the mayor of Baltimore, but the past president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. And so therefore, we've had calls from all across the United States with mayors offering their help and their prayers for the citizens of Baton Rouge, but also for those who are working this case. I will tell you this. We are an inclusive community. When you look at what has happened in Baton Rouge over the past 12 years, there are not many cities that can say it has a #1 rated police department, fire department, and EMS. We can say that. And that rating has been ours for a number of years. We are an inclusive city. When you look at the other ratings, we strive on excellence. And I'll tell you that manner of excellence will not be lost in this investigation. But we want to make sure that we ensure the integrity of this investigation. That's why I'm happy to see the Justice Department step in. I'll close by saying this. This city is only as great as the sum of its parts. To be a great city, the sum must equal the whole. We have a wound right now, but we'll be healing and making this city and parish whole again. Thank you, and God bless you.
Good morning. I'm Hiller Moore. I'm the District Attorney of Baton Rouge. A lot of people here from out of our city, out of our state, from nationwide. You are here with a lot of local media. Just want to let you know that we have a fabulous local media that we rely on that carries the story, whether good or bad, and they've treated us very fairly throughout the years. And I expect that those media that are here from out of town that do not know us or know our community, that you will treat us the same. And we welcome you to come to us and ask us questions. And I want to let you know that you are in a community that is a very good community. Despite the one issue that you're here for, this is a great community. Whether it's just the citizens themselves, the representatives of faith-based, our community, the different police departments that are here, this is a city that has been doing very, very well. Despite the issue that you're here for, this year in the city of Baton Rouge alone, murders have decreased by 37%, and since 2012 by 50%. In the parish, down 25 to 30% parish-wide, and that number has steadily gone down since 2012. These different people, the community members that are here, have worked very hard with the police department and the community leaders to reduce the number of murders. That's been our goal. And our focus has been on young black males. Young black males are in groups and gangs that are highly at risk and on the less marginalized side of our society. So when we have events like this, without coming to any judgment or any conclusion, because there's a lot of work to be done, this hurts. We would wish, it's all of our hope and our wish, that we would have this many cameras and this many microphones at the least person that you may consider in our community that loses his life to any type of violence. But when we show up at scenes, we see nobody except ourselves and a family that's left behind. And then when you have events like this, things are picked and choosed, and you have this type of event. But we're here for every soul, every person that gets injured, whether it's a police officer, whether it's one of our community members. So to the night of this morning of this occasion, the district attorney's office went to the scene along with the chief of police and all of the others. We have a officer-involved shooting protocol, and at that scene that night, the chief and I began the discussions as to how this case would be handled. Is it more appropriate in this case based on what you see at the time, and which is not the whole picture? Do you call in an outside agency? Do you call in the federal authorities or not. We have continued to discuss that from that morning. We were there at the scene, I think, for 6 to 8 hours, came back, regrouped as the investigation continued. Obviously, things had to happen. People had to be interviewed quickly because we want to get that information as quickly as we can without people scattering or losing the memory that they have. We continued to work on what is the best way for us to handle this particular case. And at that point is when the discussions began of speaking with representatives of the state police, their hierarchy, as well as the colonel of the state police. And then later on, yesterday in the evening, reaching out to the United States Attorney and the FBI, which eventually culminated in a meeting this morning with the United States Attorney, the FBI, the DA's office, the chief of police, and eventually a meeting later with the governor's office and the state police, where all different agencies asked for them to step in and please take over this case, which they have agreed to. So I think that we're in a position now where any potential issues that are out there for officer knows an officer, detective knows an officer that's being investigated, the DA knows someone, the DA is related to somebody in some type of fashion or worked the case or he's been a witness before, that has now been taken out of the equation. And now hopefully the questions and the concern can be really focused on what happened, why did it happen, was it justified, was it not justified, what happened. And I think that that's where we are now. But just as the chief and Gerard Robinson said, this is a very good community. We are protective of our community. We want people to protest and speak their mind. We anticipate there will be others that come here from out of town, as you've seen from other places around the country, that are not here to do good, not here just to protest along with others, but to do harm. I'm sure that we have some very few individuals in our own community who would rather tear our community down than to build it up. And we have to be mindful of those people and look at them and make sure that our leadership, not just these folks here, but representatives, senators, community leaders, pastors, that we all stand united and say we may differ on some issues, but on the issue of protecting Baton Rouge and making Baton Rouge safe, that we stand together. And I think that you'll have a good time, and we wish that you ask us questions, look at the good things of Baton Rouge and what this community has done together with the different law enforcement agencies, and that you treat us fairly and accurately. We only ask that you report which is true, and we expect that you will, just as our local media has done here for years. Thank you.
All right, we will take questions. I want you to understand that there are certain things about the case, particulars about the case, that because the U.S. Attorney's Office has taken over the investigation, that we cannot answer. But
did Alton Sterling have a gun on him?
I'm going to refer that to the U.S. Attorney's Office. I think that the initial call went out that he had a weapon, but their investigation obviously will reveal that.
It was mentioned that there was body camera footage, or at least that it existed. Did the body cameras fall off the officer, or what's the status of that body camera?
There is body camera footage. That footage may not be as good as we hoped for. During the altercation, the body cameras did come dislodged, but they stayed on and active and recording at that time. So there is audio and video from their body cameras.
Can you confirm the race of the two officers?
They both are white male officers. Obviously, you can tell from the video. The video that you have that is posted online, that video, you can look at it and you can obviously tell that both officers are white male officers.
Which officer
did the shooting, and have either of them been interviewed by any law enforcement?
No, we're not going to discuss, obviously, the particulars of that case. Obviously, the U.S. Attorney is going to have to answer those questions at this point since they are in control of the investigation.
Other than the initial 911 phone call that indicated that the suspect may be armed, what do you have to substantiate that?
Well, we're going to refer that to the U.S. Attorney's Office. There are witnesses and other individuals that were initially interviewed that night. So all of those interviews are going to be turned over to the U.S. Attorney's Office, and they will have to answer those particulars.
So the understanding that the body cameras fell off actually when the shooting happened, does that mean the content on the cameras is not useful, or is there still something that indicates exactly
I think
what happened?
every video that we have will be useful for the U.S. Attorney's Office. I think in some form or fashion, whether it be the video or the audio, all of it will be used as evidence for, their particular case.
Is there video leading up to the video that's been released on?
We have in-car camera video footage. We have body camera video footage, and there's been video at the store. That'll all be turned over.
Has it been turned over already?
It's being turned over at the moment as we speak.
We keep hearing that there was an altercation between police and this guy. Can you elaborate on that?
I cannot elaborate on any particulars about the altercation. Like I said,
Was the suspect tased prior to the shooting?
I'm not going to elaborate on what the altercation entailed. We'll let the U.S. Attorney's Office, when they're ready to release that information, release that.
Do you have any records of any prior encounters between Mr. Sterling and any?
At this moment, I do not know.
Will there be more Baton Rouge police officers patrolling the streets in the coming days?
Yes, we are going to have officers out. I mean, our main concern is to protect the public. We will have more officers out on the streets, more officers at different locations, wherever peaceful protests are. We hope that it remains peaceful and that people abide by the laws in Baton Rouge, and we want to keep it that way. But yes, we will have extra officers out.
Per civil law, can the police department or the police chief fire these two officers if need be?
As far as our policy under state law, these officers have civil service protection. Because of that civil service protection, they are entitled to what is called a laudermill hearing before they, if that comes to the determination of the investigations, before these officers can be terminated, they have to have that hearing. And before that hearing, there has to be an administrative investigation, which will be conducted by our Internal Affairs Division. Once there is a conclusion to that Internal Affairs investigation, those recommendations will be made to the chief, and the chief will ultimately decide whether those officers receive disciplinary action.
Sir, the coroner has said that Mr. Sterling died from multiple gunshot wounds. Do you have a firm number on how many times he was shot?
I do not at this point. That's something you'll have to discuss with the U.S. Attorney's Office.
Specifically, this would be a question for the chief. Chief, you said that you were demanding answers. I wonder, what is it about the video particularly that bothers you?
Anytime you have a loss of life, that bothers us. And we want to know what happened. We want to know the truth, and we want to get to the bottom of it. And as chief, I am accountable for everything that my guys know.
Specifically on the video that troubles you?
The fact that someone got shot, that's always troubling. And that's important to us. And we want to get to the answers, to the bottom of the answers, and the truth. And that's what our investigation and why we felt it best for an independent and transparent investigation for the U.S. Attorney to take it over.
Chief, while you're up there, you heard this morning there are some people asking for your resignation.
I'm not retiring. I'm not resigning. I'm not retiring.
What do you make of them calling for you to resign?
I think they're acting off of emotion. I have worked with Mike McClanahan for the past 3 years. We have worked very closely together in joining and bridging the gaps in this community between law enforcement and the community. And I can't tell you how many conversations with Mike. I didn't have any prior to this morning before he called for my resignation, but I don't plan on resigning. We have done a lot of good in this community. We have worked very hard in this community. Do we have an issue right now? Yes, but we are working diligently to bring the truth out, and if anybody's got to be held accountable, well, that starts with me, because I'm the chief.
Chief, let me ask it this way. Do you think it's fair for some people to call for your resignation?
I don't think it's fair for someone to work off of emotion. I think Mike is emotionally in this right now, and I think he made those statements emotionally. I can't speak for Mike. You'd have to get that from him. But no, I don't think it's fair at this point for that.
To the mayor.
Had either of the officers ever been involved in a shooting before? They'd each been in the job just a few years, I understand.
I'm not sure of that. To my knowledge, no, but I'd have to, I'm not sure.
Any requests for IA histories, personnel actions, you can make to our office, BRPD media at brgov.com, and we'll supply you with the information.
If they have them, what kind of retraining or what kind of training is standard protocol for the department for?
Go ahead, Chief.
It depends on the severity of the incident as to what would happen, but retraining is always part of discipline.
Question for the district attorney. So the Justice Department will do a civil rights investigation. Will your office get the case that is investigated from them and do your own investigation?
No, at this point, discussions with the local United States attorney, who has also had conversations with Washington there. They'll do a civil rights violation, but there's also potential, and I use that word cautiously, that there's also possible criminal violations that they would do as well. Their request to me is that I stand down and let them do their investigation, whether it's a civil rights violation or potential civil rights which has a criminal penalty, and I'm going to abide by that request.
As an elected official, you're always asked your opinion based on your view of something. I wonder, after seeing the video, what troubles you the most?
You know, again, it's another person that's dead, killed by law enforcement officers who have the authority by the state and the people, because we get our power really from the people, not just a piece of paper, that authorizes law enforcement to take a life in certain situations, which is always, that's why you guys are here in this situation and not on the street in Baton Rouge when we have other killings, because this is potentially a state-authorized killing. It gives law enforcement officers the authority and mandates them to kill when in defense of themselves or others. So I think whenever there's that situation and there's law enforcement involved, it's a completely different case than it is with a person on the street being killed.
Mayor, you also heard that they are also asking for your resignation, your response to that.
But tell them it will be effective 12/31 this year. That's when I'm retiring. Thank you.
Did both officers fire their weapons, or did only one?
We're going to leave that for the United States Attorney's Office to answer. That's going to conclude the press conference. We appreciate everybody for being here. Like I said, if you have any public information requests from us concerning our officers or our disciplinary process or anything like that that's not related to the particulars of this case, that you refer those public information requests to vrpdmedia@vrgov.com, and we will fulfill those requests as soon as we can. Thank you.